All right, so here's the plan for today. I scrapped the 26th lesson after first hour. I don't think it was very good. I'd rather us have time to review for our unit 2 test, which is scheduled for when? Tuesday, November 1st, and it is not changing from that. So that's the day we are taking it. You have in total 15 questions, and that includes like your main portion of the test and your constructive response. So both this time and this time only, I will grade on paper because the Illuminate has been kind of not great, like grading your stuff and giving you partial credit and not difficult. So like Illuminate, if you enter like one piece of it wrong, like an extra space, when it tells you not to put any spaces, for example, it'll mark the whole thing wrong. And it also is very hard when you go in and look at every single one of your guys' responses. Like, it doesn't show me them all in one like page. So that's what this time I will grade both on paper. You'll notice you'll have a packet and a paper, and you'll turn both in. I still have to have you guys enter your answers into the Illuminate because that's like how the district pulls data. So if you finish early, I'll have you put your answers in. If you use up all the time on the papers, that's fine. I'll have you still enter your answers in like the next day. But I'm grading what's on your paper. Only what's on your paper. In the computer is just for. So this review was made by a different teacher who literally, again, looked at the test and just changed the numbers. So some of these look really difficult, and then, you know, today's the day to ask about them, see an example of them. So that way, when you see it on the test, you're not completely confused. And of course, this isn't like all the questions, there's still some more. So here's what I did. This puzzle piece for lesson 26 will just be optional if you already did it, which some people did and they got a good score on it. I think it's only like 4 or 5 questions. If you did it, it'll be extra credit, whatever score you get. I'm not super worried about it. I'd rather you guys have time today to work on your study guide, which is worth 100 class points. It's been available a long time. It's 100 class points based on accuracy. So don't just think you're gonna get away with putting random answers and then getting an automatic one time. That's not how it works. You get 3 attempts automatically to try and get the highest score you can. This includes all the questions on like the 100 portion, on the 100-point portion of your actual test. So like the percentage that you're seeing from that, you should kind of think of it as, oh, that's what I would get on my unit 2 test. So like I have some kids that already turned it in. I don't know if they guessed or if they really tried, but it's like at a 25%. Is that what you want to get on Tuesday in the double category? Well, use the study guide. Make sure you ask questions on any that you don't know, so that way you're ready. That's been there a while. I hope you use it correctly. Don't just guess. Let's see if you get 100 in the classroom category, that doesn't matter as much as your assessment category. Also, I did send an email home to every single one of your parents, no matter how great your grade is in here. Personally inviting you guys to Saturday Academy, which is tomorrow. It's not something you have to sign up for. It's basically 3 hours of free tutoring. Like normally you have to pay for a tutor. I know when I charge people, and I never tutor like my own students, by the way, but I know like when I would charge people, I would charge at least 40 an hour. Because my time is valuable. And other reasons too. But I know when I was looking for an organic chemistry tutor in college, that was like $100 a month. So like free tutoring, anytime that comes up, take advantage of it. Anytime your teachers offer tutoring, they don't have to do that. Like we're not required in our contracts to have tutoring at all. So anyone that does it out of like being nice and like wanting to help you guys. So keep that in mind. Saturday Academy is like about once a month. There's dates listed on the email I sent to you and your parents. I highly recommend you go. And if you go tomorrow, there will be math teachers there that can help you on the study guide. Make sure that you're ready for your test that is on Tuesday. I would recommend that that's what you focus on. You can like retake tests too if you want and things like that, but we have like about 200 assessment points going in about a week. So I would say make this your priority. So any questions on anything that I said? All right, so I'm gonna try and show you all the problems that I think students would struggle with on that paper that you just picked up. So the paper you just picked up will qualify as your lesson 26 note. So when it says lesson 26, I'll edit this, it will be just one page. That'll be for lesson 26. Make sense? All right, so that's the big thing you're lesson 26. So also friendly reminder, your binder check is scheduled for Monday. So here's the list of everything you should have. I literally just count the pages, times it by 2, and that goes in the assessment category. So once I edit this, it'll be at 54 assessment points. So what score will you get if you only have 10 of the pages? Good. Like math skills, 20 out of 54. What happens if you have, just how many pages is this? When I take out the one page, because it's not all one page each, but yeah, just however many pages you have, times it by 2, put it out of 54, that would be the score that goes in. So if you're missing a page, go on Schoology, copy it onto your own paper, not a big deal. Shouldn't really even take you that long. So it's just straight copy. And then that's like 53 points going in the assessment category. So questions on that? All right, so then let's look at this. I may not do all of the problems, but let's start with the ones that I think will give you guys the most issues, like this one. All right, I think you guys are pretty good at solving for variables, but what's challenging about this problem? The fraction. All right, I don't know about you, but dealing with fractions isn't like my favorite thing. Depending on the circumstance and what fraction I'm multiplying by, I might just use the decimal, right? Because what's the first step in this problem? To distribute, and I actually have to distribute twice. But distributing that fraction, I can understand is difficult. So here's something you can do. You can take your Desmos calculator, put the fraction in parentheses, just like that, and times it by whatever number you need to times it by. If I put the R in there, it won't read it. So just put like the coefficient. So what's 1/3 times 6R? 2R. All right, and then you do the same for the 1/3, so 1/3 times 12. All right, so what's 1/3 times 12? 4, and it's a positive 4, so put +4. Easy enough? So don't see the fraction, are you reading or something? Don't see the fraction and then just give up. Use your calculator, you all have access to that. All right, but then you keep going. What's 3 times R? Good. And 3 times 5. 15. And then bring down that equals 19. From here, I think you guys can handle it. So we'll see. Also, side note, This one, all the numbers happen to be positive, so you get all positives when you multiply. I know on the most recent quiz, some people were confused, like if there's a negative outside parentheses. So like, let's say is this. What's outside the parentheses? A negative what? So you're distributing a -1 in that case. All right, you don't just drop the parentheses. There's a 1 out there, even if it's not right. Or there might be a different number, like a 1/3 or 3. So then just keep that in mind, because I know that was a struggle on the test. If this was the problem on the test, it would have been -2 plus 3 after distributing. Because negative times a positive is a negative, negative times a negative is a positive. So just keep that in mind. Guys, don't ask me wrong. Talk about this every day. Like you're gonna be massive. Try not to be insensitive. I know some people have medical issues, so like you guys are great. All right, so after distributing, what do you usually have to do? 2R plus 3R, which is, and then 4 plus 15, which is. All right, and then continue isolating the R from there. All right, isolate the R. What do I always tell you to get rid of first when you're isolating something? Whatever is physically farther from it, but still on the same side of the equal sign. So the whole goal is to get this by itself. So when you guys tell me, oh, this is the farthest, yeah, but I don't care, it's already on the other side. All right, well, it's on the same side of the equal sign, and then get rid of what is physically farther from it. So it could be the 5 or the 19. And how do you cancel that 19? Whatever you do on one side. And then we get 5R equal to what? 0. If it cancels out and there's nothing left on the other side, make sure you just put it through. So then continue, do the opposite of what's being done, what's opposite of multiplying by 5. And whatever you do on one side, and R equals. How can you check your answer? Put it, so I guess there's multiple ways. Put it into the equation and see if it's true. If I plug this in and I work out all the math, it should equal 19. All right, questions? Okay, so then on your test, if you have time, definitely plug it back in. So you might want to wait till the end to like check your answers, but don't just leave an answer there if you have time. Go back and check. All right, now let's do some more of the fraction. Since I just showed you one with a fraction, I'm gonna have you guys try this one. All right, the only difference is that this is an inequality. So what do you have to check for when you're solving inequalities? What's the only difference compared to like? Good. The only difference from this two equations is that you sometimes flip the sign. When? When you multiply or divide a negative number on both sides. All right, that whole thing has to be true. So not just in general, it has to be on both sides that you're multiplying or dividing a negative for the sign to flip. So you guys try that one. We'll see how you do. I'll give you like 90 seconds. All right, so what's the first step in this problem, the inequality? All right, and what are we distributing? A -1/4. Make sure you keep the sign that is in front of each term. And then follow your sign rules and you multiply. What's -1/4 times R? And -1/4 times -2. A positive 0.5, or you can put 1/2. Whatever is easier. Probably the 0.5 is easier, but other people like this. All right, so if you didn't even try, I didn't see many people have their calculators out and sent it, so that's on you. I can't maybe you do third time. All right, but that would have been -1/4 times a -2. Right, so there's no reason you guys should struggle with that. If you need the fraction version of that, which usually you do, click this button, that's the equivalent fraction. All right, if it's a decimal that goes on forever, you're gonna wanna use the fraction rather than the decimal. So then you keep going, bring everything down that was already there, so like that 7, and the less than or equal to 9. And keep going. What do you do after distributing? Okay, do I have any like terms here? What are they? And what do you get when you add them? Good. We'll make it the decimal version. So yeah, 7.5 is 7.5. Bring down everything else. And we're isolating the R. So what would I get rid of first? And how do you get rid of it? Whatever you do on one side. Good. So then I have -1/4 R. Do I need to flip the sign when I subtract? No. Did I multiply or divide a negative on both sides? So then leave the sign alone. What's 9 minus 7.5? 1.5. Almost done. I need to cancel out that fraction that is being multiplied by the variable. How do you do that? A +4. That would give me -R. I want the R completely alone. How would I do that? Multiplying it by -4. Essentially multiplying it by its reciprocal. So flip the fraction. And whatever you do on one side, do to the other. So that gets the R alone. Do I need to flip the sign for that? Yes, because I multiplied a negative on both sides. So the sign will flip. I know one time, I guess, I don't know, something must have been miscommunicated because someone thought that it meant that you remove the equal to part. That'll always be there. If it's there at the start of the problem, the equal to part will always be there. If it's not there, it's not going to magically appear. All right, when we say flip the sign, it's just the direction of it. All right, and then what's 1.5 times -4? Let me just check. This is my first time doing it today. Yes. Negative. All right, so questions on that process? All right, for the back side. Because while we are on the subject of fractions, I want you guys to see this one. All right, so when it's not like a coefficient, so in the last one, it was something you were distributing like a fraction, you can just use Desmos for that. Same with here. But on this problem, it's a fraction where it's like the whole denominator. So like, you're gonna wanna break up the fraction before you do anything else. Like, how would I cancel out this fraction on the left? Multiplying by 8. All right, because the fraction bar means to divide. So what's opposite of dividing? Multiplying. So multiplying by 8 and dividing by 8 cancels each other out, so it breaks up the fraction. But it's a rule that whatever you do on one side, you do to the other side. So by multiplying by the denominator, we get this as not a fraction. And I multiply by a positive 8, so do I need to put the sign? No. And then multiply the other side by 8. All right, so then I essentially get 8x over 2, which I can simplify. And then 8 times 1, which is 8. What does 8x over 2 simplify to? 4x. And yeah, I think someone said over 1. That's correct. We'll just make it 4x. And now look, no fraction. So when in doubt, if you see something like that, which you will, otherwise it will take time, showing you step by step. Multiply by the denominator on each side, simplify when necessary, and then keep going like normal. So it would be the next step after that. Move the variable to one side. So there's no like terms on the left, there's no like terms on the right, so you would move the variable to one side. Does it matter what side? I suggest moving the smaller one, so that's less likely you have to worry about it. So which one's smaller? How do you cancel it? Whatever you do on one side. So then I get 4 greater than, what's 4x minus x? 3x, and then bring down that plus 8. And I think you guys should be able to finish solving from there. So we'll just do real quick. What do you get rid of first? The 3 or the 8? How do you get rid of it? There we go on one side. Good. 4 minus 8 is good. I don't need to put the sign when I subtract, so leave it alone. Opposite of multiplying by 3 is whatever you do on one side. Good, and then my answer is so it could be flipped this way or it could be flipped that way. Either way, what's the bigger number in this relationship? The negative 4/3. Unless it asks for a decimal, I wouldn't put a decimal on it after, but that's up to you. Questions? All right, we're gonna take a break. I'll give you some time to work on your study guide based on what I kind of helped you with so far. If you have specific questions on this note sheet, I'd be happy to go over them, but I feel like some people are kind of like, but again, that study guide, the one that's worth 100 classwork points, is modeled after the test. So whatever score you're getting on it, probably the score you're gonna get on the test. And you want to be able to ask questions and understand them all work here together. And then that's why I'll suggest Saturday for that. All right. All right.